Way back in 1976, Sega really wanted to bring the world games that looked three-dimensional. They had developed the FONS hardware first, before moving on to the much more advanced VCO object technology in 1981, which could scale sprites in a manner that made them look like they were approaching the screen from a far-off distance. Combined with some other neat tricks like raster and color cycling effects, this created an impressive illusion of three-dimensional depth. Needless to say, this was an eye-catching technology back then, and in 1985, Sega further refined their hardware to run Yu Suzuki's Hang On, a motorcycle racer that was faster and smoother than any similar title before it. It was here that the term Superscaler was born, which then gave birth to a veritable avalanche of games like Space Harrier, Afterburner, Thunderblade, and many others over the next decade. Among those was the incredible OutRun series, a non-traditional racing game where the track, the traffic, and the clock were your main adversaries. It had an upbeat and energetic soundtrack, track locations inspired by real-world locations, and a graphical style that has been copied countless times since its release. It's seen multiple ports, sequels, and updates, and is fondly remembered as one of Sega's best racing series. That's where our subject for today steps in, a modern racer that has been heavily inspired by OutRun called Slipstream. This was a one-man, 4-year passion project originally developed in 2018. Can it live up to its lofty inspiration? Let's find out. Right from the opening screen, this is easy to understand that it was meant to be an arcade experience. Grand Tour is your base mode, where you race across 5 connected courses with different paths, running down rivals and minding the merciless clock. Single Race is a self-explanatory run of a single map. Grand Prix is a series of races where you must complete laps, place for score, and win money so you can customize the specs of your ride. Cannonball is a rally where you hit different tracks one after the other. Time Trial is a race against your best times, and finally Battle Royal is an elimination race where the last place contestant is dropped with each new leg of the contest. While the goal of each of these modes is different, the gameplay is largely the same. That gameplay is heavily steeped in power sliding and slipstreaming. Slipstreaming is the act of following the car in front of you to take advantage of the speed boost you can get, something that can help immensely on the harder settings. For power sliding, you get 2 options, an automatic or a manual. An automatic power slide will start each time you turn the wheel. This is great for beginners so they can get a feel for the way things move and handle. Manual mode means you must start the power slide yourself, or what basically means tapping the brake as you go into a sharp turn. This option gives you more control and allows you to keep your speed up a bit when going into and out of turns. While the Superscaler style presentation likens it to the original OutRun, it plays far more like its sequel, OutRun 2. In fact, I imagine an OutRun 2 demake wouldn't be too much different from this. Power sliding is a mandatory element and it's not realistic in any way, shape, or form. This engine is built for the thrill of speed, and it gives you all the tools you'll need to keep that speed going start to finish. For those of you that like second chances, there is also a built-in rewind feature that charges as you play. Make a mistake, and you can go undo it and try again. As you can tell from what you've seen so far, this shot for an old school, pseudo 3D look and feel, and it succeeds on every level. The original OutRun was colorful, smooth, and had great variation in its courses, and all of that has been lovingly mimicked here to near perfection. The pixel art scales towards the screen fast and smooth, much of it patterned after the racers of the 80s and 90s that were inspired by OutRun themselves. From cityscapes to mountains to fields of flowers, there are 20 different locations for you to choose from. There are 5 selectable cars, which don't have any official licenses themselves, but do have some familiar curves of the era. To put it plainly, this modern engine was built by a fan of sprite scaling for sprite scaling fans. Every twist and turn feels like a warp zone back to the arcades of your youth, perfectly capturing that feeling of shock and awe when you saw these types of games for the very first time. If you are searching for realism or modern bells and whistles here, you are definitely in the wrong place. But for those of you that really enjoy this look, it makes you salivate at the thought of Sega or M2 remastering something like OutRunners, which is a credit to the developers of Slipstream. Whenever an homage makes you crave the content on which it's based, you've done something right. Of special interest are nods to Sonic the Hedgehog. Seriously, much of the front end looks like something from Sonic, many of the tracks are point-blank named after various Sonic stages, and there are numerous graphical assets pulled from Sonic. OutRun isn't the only inspiration for this game, that's for sure. Graphical options finish up with a bevy of filters that allow you to add scan lines and smooth pixels out, but I think it looks just stellar as it is. The soundtrack of Slipstream is an amalgam of everything your ears took in during the 80s and 90s. This is retro electronic music with touches of its many subgenres sprinkled in for good measure. If you are in your 40s, you will likely melt away to its rhythmic tranquility. Some of it is plucky, some of it is fast, and some of it is downright surreal. I like it, so let's have a listen and see what you think. So, is Slipstream the perfect retro racer? No, it's not, but it's still one heck of a good time. Difficulty settings make the up to 4-player racing a blast. Whether you are with your kids who need a little help, or with a buddy that is just as good as you are, this game delivers. You can even adjust the speed to slow things down for the less experienced among us. In a way, it has the style of Sega with the sensibilities of Nintendo. Or to be more direct, it looks like OutRun and has the accessibility of Mario Kart. Sans weapons, of course. That's a potent combination of playability, and it serves the experience well. The different modes of gameplay also offers a strong replayability. If you get tired of Grand Tour, which is essentially just the arcade mode, you can jump to the far more demanding Battle Royale for something completely different. This variety is the core of Slipstream, and combined with the OutRun 2 style drifting, you can't help but to love what it offers. Weaknesses are few, but they are there and will likely rub some of you the wrong way. First, Slipstream struggles to get out of OutRun's shadow and become its own thing. The pixel art assets used for each area could have been more varied. It's understandable that the older games were limited, but much less so here. They look great, but some assets are used in multiple areas and some tracks have just a handful of them in the first place. With memory being no concern with a game like this, I would have loved to have seen some outstanding set pieces that really made each stage stand out and give Slipstream some real personality. A waterfall here, a well-known statue, vehicle, or sculpture there, perhaps even some aerial surprises to catch your attention. This type of thing really makes you look forward to that particular stretch of road. I also hated the inclusion of the rewind button. This is a touch that completely minimizes your mistakes, and of course your compulsion to use it is strong because you simply don't want to lose your position or the race in general. It's a cheap fix that didn't exist in the games back then, and shouldn't now. It should be locked to an extremely hard mode onto its own, separate from the other options. Real outrunners don't need second chances. We do it right the first time, or we don't deserve it. So what's the final verdict on Slipstream here? As an homage to OutRun, I think it really holds its own. It has multiple race modes that gives the game some real meat on its bones, and the fact it's only $10 reinforces that value. The different options make it accessible to just about everyone, and the multiplayer means up to 4 players or family members can join you in local contests. After spending some time with this, I find dropping 15 or 20 minutes into it here and there extremely satisfying, particularly when on the go and I have my Nintendo Switch with me. It has the sound, visuals, and gameplay to satiate those moments when you only have a few minutes to burn and just want something that feels good and is fun. This product was mainly the result of a lone developer, and you really have to admire the dedication it must have taken to create it. This guy obviously was a huge Sega fan, and the end product here is a fantastic homage to their products. I would have liked to have seen the tracks have more pixel art variety and eye-catching set pieces, but really, this is so worth every penny of that $10, it's tough to level any real criticism at it. It's a modern OutRun, and if that piques your interest, you'll be very happy with the end result. If you're looking for anything approaching realism or modern aesthetics, I recommend you keep on driving. I'm Sega Lord X, thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you next time.